from the YouTube channel of former New York State Governor Andrew M. Cuomo. Dr. Fauci says New York's COVID plan seems really sound and has a lot of backup contingencies. So this was the reality that we were supposed to be living in December 2020. I mean, think of the levels of this madness, bro.
Levels. Levels. Yeah.
Like, in December of 2020, you were supposed to take Andrew Cuomo and Dr. Fauci at their word, both of which are now, I mean, basically pariahs, right? Nobody trusts Dr. Fauci. Maybe there's some weirdos with the, trust the science yard sign. Andrew Cuomo, of course, stepped down from his position. His little brother, Fredo, was fired from CNN, right? It was crystal clear to me at the time, even, but now it's crystal clear to everybody, and I can only assume absolutely insane to watch these weirdo theatrics from December 2020. But my name's Eric. This channel is called Report and Opine. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell. I'm absolutely begging you.
I'm begging you, please. Come on, please.
It would help me a lot, and it would cost you nothing. But if you wanted to help me even more and spend a little bit of money, go ahead and buy my book, New York City 2020, Gotham Unglued, on Amazon.com. That link will be in the description. And for the record, this book was produced by accident when I was furloughed from work because Rona was so super scary. But you could protest for fentanyl Floyd. That's a different story.
So a couple of questions for you, Dr. Fauci. That's what we're doing. In general, your opinion has always been valuable to us.
Oh, my word. Your opinion has always been valuable to us. So says Andrew Cuomo. And they're obviously both complete jokes now. But I guess this was to be taken seriously. Bill de Blasio, right? We all remember him eating the cheeseburger and telling you to go get a shot. And I think this was even before that, right? I mean, the levels to this madness is just unimaginable.
The holiday spread, I think it continues through Christmas, Hanukkah, etc. Trying to guess, and I know it's a guess, when we could see a peak to this holiday spread. Is it after New Year's? Is it January, mid-January? Do you have any guess, educated point about that? And again, thank you very, very much for being with us.
Well, thank you very much, Governor, for giving me the opportunity to listen to what I found to be a very interesting plan that you have for New York. It seems really sound, and you have a lot of, backup contingencies, which I like. So you're not going to get caught shorthanded on this. I'm certain.
What a creepy circle jerk this is. Only 1 minute in. Absolutely despicable.
Thank you for that. With regard to the issue of the holiday spread and the peaks, they're going to be superimposed upon each other. So you would expect
and this is all made up, right? I mean, Fauci himself admitted it now. We all know that the social distancing, that was completely arbitrary and there was no science behind it. Yeah, we knew. Well, I knew. Anybody with two brain cells to rub together could tell that it was all made up. But this is pure evil theatrics.
Full blunt of the travel and the family setting gatherings with friends that you alluded to as being a problem. You'd expect that the effect of the Thanksgiving surge would be probably another week and a week and a half from now, because it's usually 2.5 weeks from the time of the event. The problem is that's going to come right up to the beginning of the Christmas Hanukkah potential surge. So you have a surge upon a surge.
Oh, a surge upon a surge. And of course, he has since admitted that this doesn't mean anything. So what was actually going on at that point in time? And there's also that Senate hearing or something where he talks about deleting emails or keeping emails private or whatever. So what was this all actually about? Was it money? Was it power? A little bit of both? Was it about getting rid of the orange man? And these two guys are absolute weasels, right? I just can't see anything besides reptilian weirdo overlords trying to maintain power.
And then before you can handle that, more people are going to travel over Christmas. They're going to have more of those family and friends gatherings that you accurately said are an issue. So if those two things happen and we don't mitigate well, we don't listen to the public health measures that we need to follow, that we could start to see things really get bad in the middle of January. So I think not only for New York State.
Yeah, things are really going to get bad in the middle of January. This is them actively destroying huge parts of the country. Like this is it. This is part, and I'm really surprised that Andrew Cuomo, Governor Grabass, still has this up on his page so we can all relive this absolute demonic nightmare. And this is them just making it up, destroying everything for one reason or another.
State, but for any state or city that is facing similar problems, without substantial mitigation, the middle of January can be a really dark time for us. But as you said in your presentation, Governor, there are some things that we can do to mitigate against that. I think particularly the appreciation that it's such a natural thing to think when I have family and friends over for the holidays, Christmas and Hanukkah, you get indoors, you take your mask off because you're eating and drinking, and you don't realize that there may be somebody that you know, that you love, that's a friend, that's a family member, who is perfectly well with no symptoms, and yet they got infected in the community and brought it into that small gathering that you're now having in your home.
Okay. Asymptomatic propaganda, which I think too by now has been completely debunked. There's no truth behind it. There's no science behind any of this nonsense.
So that's the reason why I want to underscore what you said. That's one of the issues. But bottom line for your first question, mid-January is probably going to be the bad time.
The small spread, family spread, living room spread, we call it living room spread here. So like 16 states have done an order of no more than 10 in a home. The CDC guidance, that
Bro, some states the government was deciding how many people you could have in your house at one time. And in December of 2020, this was apparently normal. There's just no way.
President Trump's CDC says no more than 10. Some states have gone to no more than 8. People, compliance is very low on that.
Duh.
Do you think that is a sound rule, that no more than 10 in the home?
Governor, I think that's a very sound rule. And I feel, 10 may even be a bit too much. It's not only the number, Governor, but it's the people who might be coming in from out of town. You mentioned in your presentation how you don't want somebody who's from New York who wants to go to a restaurant that's closed in New York. They go to New Jersey and then they come back. They've traveled back and forth. In addition to the absolute number of the people in a home for a gathering or a social setting, you want to make sure you don't get people who just got off an airport or a plane or a train and came in from Florida or came in from wherever. That's even more risky than the absolute number. So not only the number of 10 seems reasonable, but make sure that when people come in, that they're not people who you have no idea where they've been or who they've been exposed to. I mean, you want to be friendly, you want to be collegial, but you really got to be careful about that.
Yeah. No, you're so right, Doctor. And the practical implications are so difficult. As I mentioned at a birthday yesterday, one of my daughters who wasn't with me, who wanted to come up, she had a quarantine before she could come to my birthday,
No,
So
she didn't.
You want to go travel and see someone, it's not just that weekend. It's the whole quarantining process.
This is all absolutely laughable. Governor Grabass, Andrew Cuomo, his own daughter, had to quarantine. That was never real. That was not real for one single day.
Before. And in this state, we have very strict regulations of when you come in what you have to do.
And then in this state, we have very strict regulations. You were the one creating the regulations. You put your face on an electric billboard, a neon sign in Union Square or something, saying that curfew was at 8 o'clock in New York City. I mean, this is just wild, wild stuff.
On the vaccinations, looking ahead, 75-80% is going to be very hard to reach. New Yorkers are tuned in, and we're going to be very aggressive on public education, outreach, etc.
So you were planning to bombard the general public with crazy propaganda, which they certainly did. It was, I mean, a dystopian nightmare is putting it nicely. I don't know a better way to put it, but it was extreme. And after having lived through it, it's just the signs, the subway, the panels, the yellow signs, and the weirdo NPCs. Every 10 feet on the sidewalk, there was something about wear a mask. It's about respect. And for the record, I didn't know it was about respect. I thought it was about health and safety. But somehow it got completely perverted and turned into this thing about showing respect.
But what does your crystal ball say? When is 75-80 even feasible? You know, I hear anywhere from May, June, July, August, September. What would you guess there? Which is when it's really over, right? When the vaccination hits critical mass.
Yeah, when you have 75-80% of the people.
And perhaps that's what it was all for. They're doing all of this fear-mongering, of course, to get people to take this weirdo experimental elixir, and then it will be over, right? I mean, even 4 years later, it's still not really over. And I have flashbacks seeing those stupid stickers on the floor at stores everywhere. Please stay 6 feet apart. Even though that was all arbitrary. Remember when there were people standing outside of Trader Joe's on a little piece of tape and moving like robots? It was something out of a science fiction, futuristic movie.
People vaccinated, you have an umbrella of protection over the community that the level.
Oh yeah. Those things work wonders. You're not going to get sick. You're going to be fine if you let us poke you in the arm with this thing. In fact, Cuomo at one point in time said, we might have to go to people's houses and start injecting them with this weirdo pharmaceutical experimental elixir.
And we have to spread this message, or we're going to spread the virus. And we have to get in those communities, and we have to knock on those doors, and we have to convince people and put them in a car and drive them and get that vaccine in their arm.
To keep you safe.
Of community spread will be really, really very low. The virus will not have any place to go. It's almost metaphorically, if you think the virus is looking for some victims, when most of the people are protected, the virus has a hard time.
That's just not true. It's completely false. They made it up on the spot to trick people.
Latching on to someone. When that happens, Governor, is going to be entirely dependent upon how well we do, how well I do, you do, your health
awful. You guys were both awful.
In getting the message out of why it's so important for people to get vaccinated. Because if 50% of the people get vaccinated, then we don't have that umbrella of immunity over us. But let's say it works out well. Now, let me answer your question specifically. And we do a really good job of convincing people. Between now and the end of December, you would likely get a substantial proportion of healthcare providers and people in your nursing homes. As you get into January, you'll get the second level, and then February 3rd. I would think by the time you get to the beginning of April, you'll start getting people who have no high priority.
You'll start getting people snapping out of it and realizing that you guys are running a huge scam. And for the record, do we remember was it 6 p.m. or 7 p.m., what I like to call the retard clappy hour, when people were, hanging out of their windows in Brooklyn, all over New York, they were hanging out of their windows, clapping for the brave frontline workers because they had spent all day making TikTok videos.
pa tegen MDMA. Je meisje is een mots uit seks met je pa. Geen blad voor mijn mond, maar recht voor mijn rap. Ze zullen er niet zijn als het slecht met me gaat.
You see what I'm talking about? Oh, with it from the 30s out. We know the swinging now. I'll show you what I'm talking about.
Big, big booty, what you got a big booty. Big, big booty, what you got a big booty. Big, big booty, what you got a big booty. Big, big booty, what you got a big booty.
Just a normal man and woman New Yorker in the street who's well, has no underlying conditions. If we get them vaccinated in a full court press, get them really going, and you do that through April, May, and June, by the time you get to the summer, because remember, it's a prime boost, which means you get vaccinated today, you get a boost 28 days from now, and then 7 to 10 days following that, you're optimally protected. Even though you could get some protection even after the first shot. But optimally, it's within 7 to 10 days following the second shot. If we do that well, by the time we get into the core of the summer and get to the end of the summer and into the start of the third quarter of 2021, we should be in good shape. That's what I'm hoping for. And that's the reason why it's so important to extend ourselves out to the community, particularly to the Black, African American, Latino, the people.
Bro, this is insane. These people are talking about full court pressure, convincing people to take the pharmaceutical elixir. And it's most important to push it on black people. So says Ratface Fauci. This is insane, bro. You can't make this sale today. This was a crazy sale in 2020 when everybody was scared of Rona, but this just would not fly today. And everybody memory hold it like it didn't even happen.
People are undocumented, the people who we really need to get vaccinated.
Well, Doctor, I couldn't agree with you more on that. I'm pushing the Congress right now. New York, look, I think it would be discriminatory not to understand the situation that exists with the Black and Latino population, who, by the way, blacks had twice the death rate of whites. Latinos had 1.5 times the death rate of whites, higher infection rate.
Do what we say, or you're gonna die. That's always the underlying premise of every single one of their agendas. Do what we say, or you're gonna die. Wear a mask, or you're gonna die. Don't drive a truck, or you're gonna die. Let your kid cut his junk off, or he's gonna die. Every single thing is life and death, all the time. Except for the real criminals. That doesn't really matter.
Higher percentage of essential workers. We're going to need a whole effort just to educate and outreach and get into public housing and communicate with their communities, because otherwise, I don't think, they're not going to flock to the local Walmart or Kmart or Walgreens to take this vaccine. I think we're going to need an affirmative effort to do that. Let me ask you this.
We are going to have to strong arm the blacks and Latinos to take this elixir for their safety.
Our school positivity rate is amazingly low. Even in communities that have higher spread, we're seeing much, much lower infection rates in schools. It's almost a universal statement that the school is the safest place to be in the community.
The safest place to be is as far away from you two creeps as humanly possible, and to not let this weirdo commie propaganda seep into your brain. That's the safest place to be.
That surprise you?
It originally did surprise me because we were always concerned. If you look at the influenza model, the issue is the kids are in school, they get infected, they come home and they infect their parents and their relatives. We're not finding that with this coronavirus. In fact, to our, I think, real positive spin-off of this is the realization that schools appear to be a place where the positivity, just like you all are seeing it in New York, the whole state, including New York City, you're not alone. We're seeing that in other parts of the country, that the test positivity in school is actually really low, which is really a good thing, which is one of the reasons why, when we were talking about what the best strategy would be, we would say something like, close the bars, keep the schools open is the best thing to do. So long as you subsidize.
No, that was all wrong. Closing anything was completely wrong. It was all arbitrary. You have since admitted it, but are here in December 2020 pretending it's all real, which makes it just so sinister.
And help the restaurateurs and the bar owners so that they don't go down and essentially crash because of the economic strain. But if we can keep those things under control.
The economic strain was caused by you, right? I mean, and the list goes on and on and on, whether it's Trader Joe's, fast forward a couple months to when people were getting kicked out of Applebee's for failure to show paperwork because they didn't take the experimental elixir that was oddly free for them.
Subsidize those people as well as keep the schools open, we'd be in good shape.
Yeah, and I think you're exactly right. The CDC says more restrictions on indoor dining, which I understand. And again, changing positions when facts change is intelligent. People say, well, remain consistent. I'm not going to be consistent if the facts are inconsistent. And if I see a different situation, I'm going to change my opinion. But the Congress, Washington, also has to understand those bars, those restaurants, they need financial assistance because this has been a long year and they have bills to pay. So you can't tell them we have to close you down without saying, here's the economic reality and we're going to help. Doctor,
Absolutely.
We closed everything. It's almost been a complete year, but don't worry. This is our way of ushering in communism. We forced you to shut down, of course, and with that, we're going to give you a little bit of money. It's all going to be okay. I'm the best governor. I wrote a book, actually. Go ahead and buy that, about leadership. And rat-faced Fauci, who, of course, didn't make any money during the pandemic, and none of these weirdo NIH advisors or the Wuhan lab or any of that.
On the question of this state's infection rate versus other states, we're lower than all states besides Vermont, Maine, Hawaii. Does that surprise you? And how do you explain that?
I have to say, being a New Yorker, Governor, it doesn't surprise me.
Look at this. Oh, yeah, we're just so good. Like, our rate is so much better. And does it surprise you that we're so much better than all these other little tiny northeastern states? We're so good. And look at us. We're laughing. We're yucking it up. They should bust out the giant Q-tips.
You guys, as you and I have discussed on many phone calls that we've had, you got hit, with a sucker punch right from the beginning when the cases came in from Europe and the northeastern corridor, particularly New York State, particularly the metropolitan area, got hit really, really badly. You recovered from that. Was after you got hit bad.
Oh, you were so good. You should totally write a book about why you were so good during this made-up thing that we foisted on people.
Your baseline level went way, way down and very, very low. And then you did things which were the appropriate way to avoid getting resurging. So the bad news, and it's painful for me to see it from a...
Yes, bro. You were so good. I'm encouraging you to write a book, and we have no idea now that you're going to have to step down from your position as governor for something completely different, only to be replaced with a woman who is actually worse.
Distance to my place of birth, but you guys got really slammed. And then you rebounded, and you rebounded in a way that you kept your test positivity low because you did the prudent things that you need to do. And I was following it from here in Washington, and I was seeing that whenever it looked like things were getting a little out of hand, you tightened the rope a little bit. And then when things went back, you eased up a little bit. So I'm not surprised that your infection rate is really low, because I think you were doing the right things after you had a really serious hit in the beginning when you were there in the late winter, early spring.
Doctor, on this education of the population on both the small spreads and even more now the vaccine, take the vaccine, it's safe. I think that's going to be difficult to do. I think you have tremendous credibility, not just across the country, but across this state. And I think your voice on saying that the vaccines are safe would be important. I said that as soon as the vaccine is deemed ready and safe, I'll be the first one to take a vaccine. Maybe we enlist you. I'll do it with you. We'll do an ad telling New Yorkers it's safe to take the vaccine. To put us together. We're like the modern day De Niro and Pacino. Whichever you want. You can be the De Niro or Pacino. Fauci and Cuomo, I'll give you a friend. Who do you want to be, De Niro or Pacino? Which one do you want to be?
I love them both. I love them both. I don't want to
You guys are both disgraced. And of course, De Niro has been disgraced as well. You guys are all so despicable. This is crazy.
So one or the other. If I say one, I don't want to hurt the feelings of the other.
Yeah.
So either one.
Who's the politician? All right, last question. I know you're down in Washington. You're doing great duty, but I know you miss New York. We want to figure out what to send you for Christmas. What food do you miss the most that you can't get down there that you could get if you were back here in New York and Brooklyn?
You know, Governor, whenever I need some comfort food and I dream back of my days in the Bensonhurst section of Brooklyn, the thing that comes to my mind are two things: a nice Nathan hot dog and a really steaming pastrami sandwich.
Okay, yeah. Cool little street interview question. Breathe a little levity into the situation, because this entire thing was just a weird... And there's, for the record, there are thousands of these videos on Andrew Cuomo's personal YouTube channel. I mean, it's bizarre to say the least. But this has just been a weird circle jerk of these two people pretending that they did good while actually destroying everything on purpose for their benefit.